My sister Sarah sat at her kitchen table, staring at the laptop screen. Her retirement account, $3,847. Yesterday, it held $43,847. The transaction history showed 23 withdrawals to MDB Consulting. I knew that company. It didn't exist. Marcus walked in. Cologne too strong, smile too wide. Morning, babe. Golf was fantastic. His Rolex caught the light new, probably $15,000. Sarah's finger hovered over a minimized tab. One click revealed everything. Elite Paradise Escorts. Thank you for your platinum membership, Mr. Marcus Davidson. The dates lined up perfectly. Her mother's funeral, her first chemo session, their daughter Emma's college acceptance day. These real-life stories aren't distant black stories or abstract life stories. These touching stories unfold in kitchens where 25 years of marriage dissolve in 23 transactions. Have you ever watched someone discover their spouse monetize their suffering into pleasure? Sarah closed the laptop. We need to talk about the retirement account. Marcus set down his coffee carefully. What about it? It's missing $40,000. Missing? His eyebrows rose. That's a strong word. I moved it to Higher Yield Investments, MDB Consulting. My buddy Mike's firm, Pharmaceutical Futures, 20% returns guaranteed. Sarah pulled up the Texas Secretary of State website. MDB Consulting doesn't exist. No registration, no tax ID, nothing. Marcus's smile didn't waver. It's a Delaware corporation, different registry. She switched tabs. Delaware's database. No results found. Cayman Islands then, offshore for tax efficiency. He stood, smoothing his golf shirt. Honey, I handle our investments for a reason. You're brilliant with patience, but finance requires a different skill set. Like hiding escort payments? The kitchen went silent. Even the refrigerator seemed to pause its hum. Marcus's face cycled through expressions like a loading screen. I don't know what you think you found. Sarah turned the laptop. His Elite Paradise profile filled the screen. Username, Surgical Precision 69. Last active, 3:47 a.m. today. That's someone used my photo. Identity theft. Your corporate card statements. She swiped to the next tab. Every payment matches a booking. Same dates, same amounts, same vendor ID. Emma walked in, holding acceptance letters. Mom, I need the deposit for... She stopped, seeing their faces. What's wrong? Nothing, sweetheart. Marcus's voice turned silk. Your mother's going through something. The stress from her promotion. I didn't get promoted, Sarah said quietly. You told everyone I did, but I didn't. See? Marcus appealed to Emma. She's confused. Happens to women her age. Hormones. Dad, mom's 45. Not senile. The mind plays tricks, especially after medical stress. He touched Sarah's shoulder. She didn't flinch. Remember your anxiety medication? How you thought someone was stealing from the house? You told me I was paranoid. Sarah's voice stayed level. Gaslit me for months while you literally stole from the house. That's an ugly accusation. October 10th, 3,000 to Elite Paradise. My chemotherapy started that day. Emma dropped the letters. Chemotherapy? Your father said we shouldn't worry you. You had cancer. Emma's voice cracked. When? 6 months. Stage 2 breast cancer. In remission now. Marcus interjected quickly. She's exaggerating. A minor procedure. Bilateral mastectomy. 6 rounds of chemo. 20 radiation sessions. Sarah kept her eyes on Emma. Your dad handled the finances during treatment. Said it would help me focus on healing. while spending $8,000 on escorts. She pulled up the itemized list, including one on the day of my surgery. Emma stared at her father. Mom was in surgery and you were... Adult relationships are complex. Complex? Sarah laughed short, sharp. That's what you call theft? The doorbell rang. Marcus answered, relief flooding his face. David, perfect timing. David Brennan entered silver-haired, Armani-suited, radiating authority. He surveyed the scene, dismissing Sarah with a glance before addressing Marcus. Mr. Davidson, I've reviewed the financials. The divorce filing positions you favorably. Divorce? Emma stepped back. Brennan continued, still ignoring the women. Texas law protects a husband's investment decisions. Your wife's emotional state actually strengthens our position. My emotional state? Sarah asked. Brennan finally looked at her, speaking slowly as if to a child. Ma'am, cancer is traumatic. It affects judgment. Any court would understand why Mr. Davidson needed to secure assets during your instability. Instability? The medical records show anxiety, depression, prescribed Xanax, Ambien, classic signs of impaired capacity. Because I had cancer, which clouds decision-making. A protective husband managing finances during his wife's illness? That's responsible, not criminal. Sarah pulled out her phone, started recording. Say that again. About cancer clouding judgment. Brennan smirked. Texas is a two-party consent state for recordings in private homes. Actually, Sarah smiled, you're wrong. Texas Penal Code 16.02-1 party consent applies unless there's reasonable expectation of privacy. You entered my home for a business discussion. No privacy expectation. The lawyer's smirk faded. Marcus grabbed the divorce papers. Just sign them, Sarah. Take the settlement. $15,000 and the Honda. The Honda worth $3,000, while you keep the Porsche, the house, the investments. I'm the primary earner. By $12,000 a year, I make $78,000. You make $90,000. Hardly substantial enough to justify theft. It's not theft when... When what? When you think your wife won't notice? When she's fighting cancer? When you've convinced her she's crazy? Sarah opened another folder on the laptop. Evidence chain of custody. Inside, screenshots, PDFs, recordings, organized by date, cross-referenced, backed up to 3 cloud services and a physical drive in a safety deposit box her sister kept. You've been planning this? Marcus's voice rose. For 6 months, since the first withdrawal. You manipulative... Careful. Sarah's tone stayed calm. Emma's recording. Everyone turned. Emma held her phone steady, live streaming to Instagram. The viewer count climbed. 47, 83, 126. Emma, stop, Marcus commanded. No. My followers should know what kind of man my father is. 243 viewers. 319.478. Comments flooded in. Sarah saw fragments. OMG Emma. Your poor mom. Men are trash. Is this real? Marcus lunged for Emma's phone. She stepped back, still filming. Dad's trying to grab my phone now, Emma narrated. After stealing Mom's retirement during her cancer treatment. 612 viewers. 794, 1,106. The doorbell rang again. This time Sarah answered. A woman stood outside. Mid-20s, designer dress, nervous expression. Mrs. Davidson, I'm Ashley Morrison, from Elite Paradise. I think you need to know the truth about your husband. Behind her stood 2 more women, and behind them someone in an FBI windbreaker. The woman at the door wasn't what Sarah expected. Ashley Morrison looked barely 25, wearing designer clothes but with tired eyes. "I'm not really an escort," Ashley said quickly. "I'm a forensic accounting graduate student. Your husband hired me to analyze investment opportunities. I discovered what he was actually doing." Marcus stepped forward. "You signed an NDA for legitimate consulting, not fraud." Ashley held up her phone. "I have 18 months of recorded meetings." He didn't know my phone was always recording. Emma's Instagram live viewer count climbed 1,200 and rising. Comments flooded in from her classmates. "You can't record without—" Brennan started. "Texas Penal Code 16.02, Ashley recited. "One-party consent. I was the party." Sarah studied the young woman. "Why come here?" "Because 3 hours ago, he texted me this." Ashley showed her phone screen. "A message from Marcus. Need you to create invoices backdated 6 months. We'll pay triple rate." "Triple rate for fraud," Sarah said quietly. "During our divorce." The second woman stepped forward, older, professional. "Dr. Helen Ward, psychiatric. He's been my patient for 2 years. I'm breaking confidentiality because he made specific threats about hiding assets and destroying you financially. Duty to warn supersedes." "HIPAA when there's targeted harm." Marcus went pale. "You can't." "I can, when you detailed plans to drain accounts, fake gambling addiction, and claim Sarah was abusive." Dr. Ward pulled out session notes, legally redacted but damning. "You rehearsed crying in my office. Practiced saying she hits me when she drinks. Mom doesn't even drink," Emma said to her live stream, now at 2,000 viewers. Sarah felt the ground shift. The man she'd loved for 25 years had rehearsed destroying her. "There's more," Ashley said. She pulled up spreadsheets on her tablet. "He's been running a similar scheme at work. Fake vendor companies billing Q-Tech. About 200,000 over 3 years. How do you know?" "Because I refused to create them." "So he found someone else." Ashley gestured to the FBI agent. "Agent Chen contacted me 6 weeks ago." Chen stepped forward. "We've been building a case. Mrs. Davidson, we need your help. Your husband's theft from you established pattern behavior. Without it, the corporate case is harder to prove." Sarah's phone rang. Q-Tech's HR director. She put it on speaker. "Sarah? This is Janet from Q-Tech. We've terminated Marcus effective immediately. Security found evidence on his computer." "What kind of evidence?" Sarah asked, though she suspected. "Inappropriate photos and videos of female colleagues, taken without consent, some in the office bathrooms." Emma dropped her phone. It hit concrete, camera facing up at the Texas sky. The live stream kept running. 3,500 viewers heard Sarah's sharp intake of breath. "How many women?" Sarah's voice barely carried. 17 that we've found, including you, from company parties." The yard went silent, except for the neighbor's sprinkler system. Marcus ran for his Porsche. Actually ran a 50-year-old man in a golf shirt sprinting across his own lawn. He'd made it to the driver's door when he remembered Sarah had changed the garage code that morning. He pulled at the handle. The alarm went off. Mrs. Chen from next door had started recording. "Is everything okay?" "No," Sarah said simply. "Nothing's okay." The alarm brought more neighbors. Mr. Thompson with his Ring doorbell app open. The teenage Martinez twins live streaming on TikTok. Mrs. Patterson from the HOA with her husband, the retired cop. Marcus's phone exploded with notifications. The country club group chat. Someone had shared Emma's stream. His golf buddies were watching live, his poker group, his LinkedIn network. "Turn it off!" he screamed at Emma. "No!" Emma picked up her phone, aimed it at him. "Everyone should know what you are." 4,000 viewers, 5,000. Someone had cross-posted to Reddit. Agent Chen's phone rang. He listened, then looked at Marcus. That was the district attorney. Based on the evidence, they're filing charges: theft, fraud, invasion of privacy. You can't arrest me in front of... I'm not arresting you. Yet. But there's a warrant to search your devices. 2 more FBI vehicles pulled up. Agents with evidence bags walked toward the house. Sarah remembered something. The panic room. Everyone turned to her. "We had a panic room installed 5 years ago." Marcus insisted, said it was for my safety when he traveled. She looked at Chen. "He spent a lot of time in there." Said he was organizing documents. Chen dispatched agents inside. Through the window, they watched Marcus's face crumble. 10 minutes later, an agent emerged carrying hard drives. "Ma'am, we'll need you to identify if you know any of these women." Sarah looked at the evidence bag. Dozens of drives, each labeled with initials and dates. SD 2019 to 2024 had to be her. ED 2020 to 2024. Emma, her teenage daughter. Emma saw her own initials. She turned the camera on herself. He recorded me? His own daughter? 6,000 viewers. The comment section exploded. Someone tagged the local news. Marcus fell to his knees on the lawn. "It's not what it looks like." "Hidden cameras in your daughter's room aren't what they look like?" Chen asked. The Martinez twins were already making a TikTok. The retired cop called his former partner. 3 news vans turned onto their street. Sarah walked to Marcus, knelt to his level. She spoke quietly, but Emma's phone caught every word. "Remember when I had cancer? You said you'd protect me, take care of everything, handle the hard stuff so I could heal." He nodded, tears streaming. "You did handle everything. The finances, the insurance, the house. While I was vomiting from chemo, you were very busy, setting up cameras, stealing money, planning my destruction." "Sarah, but you forgot something. Nurses document everything. It's trained into us. Every symptom, every medication, every change." She stood. "I documented you, too." She pulled out her phone, opened a cloud folder. Evidence 2019 to 2024. Screenshots, bank records, text messages, audio recordings. Every escort receipt, every lie, every theft. Organized by date, cross-referenced, backed up in 3 locations. 6 months ago, I hired someone too. She looked at Ashley. "A forensic accountant to teach me how to track you properly." Ashley nodded. She was a quick study. The news vans parked. Reporters emerged with cameras. The story was out. Marcus looked around, FBI agents, recording neighbors, live-streaming daughter, arriving media, his entire life collapsing in real-time HD video. "Please," he whispered. Sarah pulled out divorce papers. "Sign them. Now, or this gets worse." "Worse than this?" Agent Chen leaned down. "The revenge porn alone is 20 years. The child exploitation charges for recording your minor daughter? Life." Marcus's hand shook as he signed. The camera caught everything: the suburban lawn, the gathering crowd, the broken man who'd thought he was untouchable. Emma ended her stream with 7 words. "Believe women. Document everything. Justice is possible." The video had 47,000 views in the first hour. It would have 3 million by morning. The news vans created a perimeter around the lawn. Marcus stood surrounded by FBI agents, neighbors, cameras, trying to recalculate his position. "Before you arrest me," he said loudly, "you should know my wife committed insurance fraud. $73,000. The reporters pushed closer. Agent Chen raised an eyebrow. Sarah closed her eyes, then opened them. "Yes, I did." Emma lowered her phone. "Mom? Show them the folder, Marcus." Sarah's voice carried across the yard. "The one you've been saving for 3 years." Marcus pulled out his phone, triumphant. He projected confidence as he opened cloud storage, navigating to a folder labeled Insurance Documentation. 2019 through 2020, he announced. Cancer treatments, chemotherapy, radiation, all billed to our insurance. He turned to the cameras. Except Sarah didn't have cancer in 2019. The crowd murmured. Chen stepped closer. "Mrs. Davidson." Sarah pulled up photos on her phone. "December 2019. My sister, Maria." The image showed a woman, skeletal from chemo, holding a baby, bald, dying. Maria lost her job in October 2019, lost insurance. Stage 3, breast cancer. The treatments would have cost $300,000 without insurance. "So you committed fraud," Marcus said quickly. "No, you did." Sarah opened her laptop, showing emails. "You filed the claims. Your login, your IP address, your digital signature. I asked you to help find options for Maria. You said you'd handle it." She pulled up texts from November 2019. Sarah. The social worker mentioned charity care. Marcus. Too slow. She needs treatment now. Sarah. What are you suggesting? Marcus. I have a solution. Don't worry about details. Sarah. I need to know what. Marcus. Do you want Maria to live or not? Chen read the messages. Coercion. I found out about the fraud after Maria finished treatment, Sarah continued. By then, she was in remission. Marcus said if I ever left him, he'd report me as the perpetrator. You still benefited. Did I? Sarah pulled up bank records. Every insurance reimbursement went to your accounts. You claimed them as medical expenses for tax deductions, made $40,000 in tax breaks from Maria's cancer. Ashley, the forensic student, pulled up her analysis. He also sold the debt to his own shell company, wrote it off as bad debt, got another $20,000 in deductions. That's tax fraud, Chen noted. And heartless, Emma added, still recording. Her viewer count passed 20,000. Sarah opened another folder. But that's not the real twist. Everyone leaned in. Marcus, remember Dr. Patterson, your neurologist? Marcus went rigid. The one who diagnosed your early-onset dementia in 2021? I don't have... Sarah displayed medical documents. Cognitive decline, memory issues, impulse control problems. You've been seeing him monthly for 3 years. Those appointments were fake. Were they? She pulled up credit card statements. Every visit paid for. Parking receipts from the medical center. Prescription records for Aricept and Namenda. Chen looked confused. If he has dementia. He doesn't, Sarah smiled grimly, but he needed the diagnosis for his real plan. She opened legal documents. 2021. Marcus filed for disability insurance. Claiming cognitive impairment made him unable to manage complex financial decisions. Why would he fake? Ashley started, then stopped. Oh my God, the embezzlement. Sarah nodded. Every theft from Q-Tech, every fraudulent transaction, every escort payment, all done by a man medically documented as mentally incompetent. Diminished capacity defense, Chen breathed. He was setting up an insanity plea 3 years ago. Except, Sarah pulled up more documents. The neurologist? Dr. Patterson is my cousin. The real Dr. Patterson. Marcus has been seeing my cousin Tony, thinking he was a random doctor. Marcus's face cycled through confusion to realization to horror. Tony's been documenting the opposite. Every visit, Marcus demonstrated perfect cognition, complex planning, detailed memory. The sessions are recorded. She hit play on her laptop. Marcus's voice filled the air. The Dementia Act is perfect. I can steal whatever I want. If caught, I'm mentally incompetent. Sarah gets power of attorney, but she can't divorce a sick husband without looking cruel. I control her through sympathy. The crowd stood frozen. Even the reporters stopped pushing forward. 3 years, Sarah continued. You've been building a fake dementia defense while I've been proving you're completely competent. Emma's stream exploded with comments. The viewer count hit 35,000. But the real twist? Sarah pulled out a thick document. This, Marcus stared at it. Our living trust? Created in 2021, right after your diagnosis. You insisted, said if your dementia worsened, you wanted me protected. So, read who you named as trustee. Marcus scanned the document. His hands started shaking. Maria? My sister. The one whose cancer you monetized. You were so focused on your plan, you didn't notice you gave control of everything to her if you became incapacitated. But I'm not incapacitated. According to 3 years of medical records you created, you are. Sarah pulled up another document. This morning, Dr. Patterson, the fake one you've been seeing, signed an incapacity declaration based on your documented decline. He can't. He can. You gave him medical power of attorney in 2021, another part of your perfect plan. Maria stepped out from the house, alive, healthy, holding legal documents. Hello, Marcus, she said quietly. As your legal trustee, I've frozen all your assets pending review of your mental state. Marcus spun toward Chen. This is entrapment. This is justice, Maria said. You profited from my cancer, filmed my daughter, destroyed my sister. Now I control everything you own. The house is in the trust. The accounts in the trust. My retirement also in the trust, which I now control because you're mentally incompetent, according to your own doctors. The silence stretched. Then Emma laughed sharp, bitter. Dad got defeated by his own fake dementia? 50,000 viewers watched Marcus realize he'd checkmated himself. Sarah pulled out one final recording. January 2024, the day I was diagnosed with actual cancer. You were so happy. Marcus's voice on the recording, perfect timing. Real cancer means she can't leave. No one divorces a cancer patient. I can do whatever I want now. You celebrated my cancer. Sarah's voice stayed steady, saw it as opportunity. She turned to Chen. I'll cooperate fully with the insurance investigation. What I did was wrong. But everything else, the theft, the recordings, the tax fraud, that's all him. Mrs. Davidson, given the circumstances, coercion, dying sister the DA might not prosecute. I'll accept whatever comes. She looked at Marcus. That's the difference between us. I'll face consequences. You spent 3 years trying to escape them. Marcus looked around wildly. His father had left. His lawyer had fled. His daughter was broadcasting his destruction. His wife had outplayed him using his own weapons. "The escort site," he said desperately. "She knew about—" "I found out yesterday. The FBI told me this morning." Sarah pulled up her phone. "Here's my text to Agent Chen at 6 a.m. Just learned about recordings. Fully cooperating." Chen confirmed with a nod. "You had contingencies for everything," Marcus said, almost admiringly. "How? Because I'm a nurse. We prepare for every scenario, every possible complication, every adverse reaction." She paused. "And I had 3 years to learn from a master manipulator." She pulled out divorce papers. "Sign them. Maria will release enough funds for your legal defense. Or don't sign, and she'll use the trustee power to divorce you anyway." "That's not legal." "It is. You gave her that power." Page 47 of the trust. In case of mental incapacity, trustee can initiate divorce proceedings if spouse is victim of documented abuse. Marcus looked at the papers, at the cameras, at his daughter, whose stream now showed 75,000 viewers. "One question," he said. "When did you start planning this?" Sarah met his eyes. "The day you told me not to worry about Maria's treatment. That you'd handle everything. I knew then what you were. So I started documenting, learning, preparing. 3 years of deception. 3 years of survival." Marcus signed the papers. As Chen led him away, Sarah called out, "Marcus? Your neurologist wants to see you. The real one. Seems you might actually have cognitive issues now. Stress-induced. Ironic, isn't it?" The last image on Emma's stream was Marcus in handcuffs, looking back at the house he'd lost, the family he'd destroyed, the wife who'd turned his own game against him. "Checkmate," Sarah whispered. The Honda, it turned out, was the only thing left in his name. The Q-Tech emergency board meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. in conference room 12B, not the executive boardroom, but a smaller space where they thought they could control the narrative. Sarah arrived with Agent Chen and someone unexpected, Tom Rodriguez, senior investigator from the Texas State Securities Board. "This is a private meeting," Richard Davidson started. "Actually, it's not." Rodriguez placed his badge on the table. "Q-Tech is publicly traded. When fraud exceeds 10 million, state regulators have oversight authority. Only 5 board members had shown up. The others were already with their lawyers." Sarah recognized them. Richard Davidson, James Wright, CFO, Dr. Peterson, board secretary, Margaret Chen, independent director, and surprisingly, Barbara Knox, the pension fund manager who'd contacted Sarah weeks ago. "Barbara," Richard looked betrayed. "You're with them?" "I'm with the 17,000 retirees whose pensions you've been gambling." Barbara opened her laptop. "Mrs. Davidson contacted me 6 weeks ago. We've been investigating." Sarah placed a single folder on the table. Not dramatic stacks of evidence, just one folder. "I'm not here to destroy Q-Tech. I'm here to save it." "Save it?" Wright laughed bitterly. "You've leaked everything. Stock's down 40%. 38%, Sarah corrected, "and it'll recover. If you listen." She opened the folder. Inside was a 2-page proposal. "Marcus stole 40,000 from my retirement, but investigating that led me to something bigger. Project Meridian." The room went cold. "How do you—" "Marcus kept records, not of his theft. He was too smart for that, but of yours, Mr. Wright." She pulled out her phone, showing a photo of documents. "Meridian Medical Supplies, your wife's company, billing Q-Tech for equipment that doesn't exist. But here's the interesting part. You're not stealing." Wright's confusion was genuine. What? You're being blackmailed. These purchases? They match deposits to an account in Cyprus. The account belongs to Viktor Kozlov. Richard went white. The ransomware attack last year never ended. You paid them to unlock the systems, but they kept access. They've been bleeding Q-Tech slowly, using Wright's credentials, making it look like internal theft. Chen leaned forward. You're saying this is cyber extortion? For 14 months, small amounts, 2 to 3 million total, disguised as legitimate purchases. Sarah turned to Wright. You noticed discrepancies but couldn't find the source. That's why you started drinking, why your marriage is failing. Wright's hands shook. How could you possibly? Your wife called me. Janice and I work at the same hospital. She knew something was wrong but didn't know what. Sarah pulled out a second document. The FBI Cyber Crimes Unit has been tracking Kozlov for 2 years. You're not criminals. You're victims, but you're also negligent for not reporting the breach. We couldn't, Richard said quietly. The military contracts would be void if you reported foreign infiltration. Yes, Sarah nodded. So you ate the losses, hoped they'd stop. But they didn't. Margaret Chen spoke for the first time. If this is true, why hasn't Marcus exposed it? He could have used it as leverage. Because Marcus didn't know. He was too busy with his own schemes to notice, but his forensic trails accidentally documented the Russian hack. She showed another document. Here's my proposal. Full disclosure to the FBI. Cooperation with cyber crimes. The Pentagon already knows. They've been monitoring unusual patterns for months. Coming clean now, voluntarily, saves the contracts. They'll cancel. They'll renegotiate, reduce scope, increase oversight, but maintain the relationship. I've already had unofficial conversations. Rodriguez nodded. The State Board supports this approach. Voluntary disclosure beats forced revelation. Barbara added, the pension funds agree. We'd rather take a controlled hit than total collapse. Richard looked at his fellow board members. Wright was crying actual tears of relief that he wasn't a criminal, just a fool. There's more, Sarah said. Marcus's escort payments? He was being recorded too. Everyone looked up. The escort service was a front. Not FBI, that was my bluff earlier, but Russian intelligence. They've been collecting blackmail material on pharmaceutical executives for years. She pulled up a website, Elite Paradise. Look at the client list Marcus accidentally screenshotted. CEOs, CFOs, government officials, all in pharma or defense. It's an intelligence operation. Marcus walked right into it. So did dozens of others. Chen was already on his phone, calling the counterintelligence unit. Sarah stood. So here's the real situation. Q-Tech isn't corrupt, it's compromised. The theft is real, but external. The board isn't criminal, it's incompetent. And the solution isn't prosecution, it's cooperation. She looked at Richard. Your son was the only actual criminal. Everyone else was either blackmailed or negligent. Why help us? Richard asked. After what Marcus did? Because 17,000 retirees depend on Q-Tech's pension fund. Because 3,000 employees need their jobs. Because one man's cruelty shouldn't destroy everyone's future. She pulled out her final document. Besides, I don't own 15% of Q-Tech. That was a bluff, but Barbara does, through the pension fund, and she's willing to push for reform instead of revenge. Barbara nodded. New cybersecurity protocols. External audits, whistleblower protections, and a victims' compensation fund, starting with restoring Sarah's $40,000. The vote was unanimous. Even Richard, broken and exhausted, raised his hand. As they prepared to call the FBI Cyber Crimes Unit, Sarah added one thing. Marcus's recordings of the escort sessions? They don't exist. He was too arrogant to think he needed insurance. But you believing they did? That revealed everything. Wright laughed hysterical, relieved. You bluffed the entire board? I learned from Marcus. But unlike him, I used deception to reveal truth, not hide it. The meeting ended with handshakes instead of handcuffs. Q-Tech would survive wounded, chastened, but intact. Emma hadn't been streaming. She'd been in the lobby, watching the stock ticker. When Sarah emerged, she showed her phone. Tech announces Russian cyber attack. Full cooperation with authorities. Comprehensive reform package. The stock had stopped falling. Started climbing. You saved them, Emma said. The people who protected Dad. No, I saved the innocent people he would have dragged down. Sarah looked back at the building. Your father was a parasite. Parasites kill their hosts. I just removed the parasite before it destroyed everything. They walked to the parking garage. The Honda waited 200,000 miles, needing tires, but reliable. Mom, Emma asked as they drove away, how did you know about the Russians? Sarah smiled. I didn't. But Marcus's escort service accepting cryptocurrency? Only criminals or intelligence operations do that. I gambled on intelligence. And if you were wrong? Then Plan B. The real FBI documents in my bag. The ones showing Marcus implicated 6 board members in insider trading. But you said, I lied. Sometimes lies reveal truth. Marcus taught me that. The Houston skyline faded behind them. Q-Tech would survive. The employees would keep their jobs. The retirees would keep their pensions. And Sarah would get her $40,000 back, plus interest, plus damages, paid from Richard Davidson's personal holdings. Justice, it turned out, could be both brutal and merciful. The federal courthouse in Houston smelled like old paper and disappointment. Sarah sat in witness row 7, watching Marcus shuffle in wearing orange. The Rolex was gone. The confidence evaporated. He looked smaller, as if prison had compressed him. State your name for the record. Sarah Louise Davidson. Your relationship to the defendant? 25 years of marriage. 3 weeks of truth. The prosecutor walked her through evidence for 2 hours. Each transaction, each recording, each lie mapped with clinical precision. Sarah had brought charts color-coded, time-stamped, irrefutable. Marcus's public defender tried one angle. You committed insurance fraud. To save a dying sister. The prosecutor declined charges given the coercion and circumstances. But you did commit. Yes, I did something wrong to save a life. Marcus did everything wrong to destroy one. The judge, Patricia Nguyen, had reviewed 17 hours of recordings. Mr. Davidson, any statement before sentencing? Marcus stood. I made $110,000 a year. The lie even now. Sarah had his real pay stubs, $73,000. But it wasn't enough. My wife, a nurse, made $90,000. I couldn't bear it. So I became someone else. Someone who deserved more. Someone who took it. Judge Nguyen's voice carried no sympathy. 12 years federal prison. Minimum 10 before release consideration. Lifetime sex offender registry for recording your minor daughter. Restitution of $427,000 to multiple victims. Marcus turned to Sarah as guards approached. The dementia diagnosis was fake, we all know. No. Yesterday. The prison doctor. It's real now. Early onset. Stress-induced. Sarah felt nothing. The universe had written its own ending. Outside, Emma told reporters, "Pawns can become queens." My father forgot that rule. 2 months later, Sarah sat across from Houston Methodist's chief executive. "We're creating something unprecedented. Director of Financial Abuse Prevention. You'd train staff to recognize signs, build protocols, run intervention programs. I'm a floor nurse who exposed a $1 million fraud ring using Excel and recordings. The salary is $140. Full benefits. Research budget. There's one condition. I want to create a nonprofit. Free forensic accounting for abuse victims." Done. The foundation will provide seed funding. Sarah started the next Monday. Document Everything. Launched 6 months later. The website crashed from traffic on day 1. 300 women called the first week. Sarah hired Ashley, the forensic accounting student who'd helped expose Marcus, as deputy director. Maria took a position at MD Anderson, managing clinical trials. Her cancer stayed dormant. Her daughter started a podcast. Red Flags We Ignore. It hit number 3 on Spotify within a year. Emma's senior thesis at Rice University examined financial abuse patterns. The title? The Paperwork of Patriarchy: How Traditional Marriage Enables Economic Violence. She won the National Journalism Award. A publisher offered a book deal. Not Netflix, but something real. Something lasting. Q-Tech survived its reckoning. The Russian hack revelations led to congressional hearings. New regulations passed. The stock recovered eventually, steadier if not spectacular. Richard Davidson visited Marcus once, year 2. The conversation lasted 3 minutes. "I have pancreatic cancer." 3 months. "You're not in the will." Marcus said nothing. What was there to say? Richard died alone in hospice. His fortune went to a scholarship fund for nursing students, a detail that felt like the universe's dark humor. Sarah bought a townhouse with the restitution money. 3 bedrooms, study for Emma. Garden for healing. The Honda still sat in the garage, new tires, reliable. A reminder that not everything needs replacing. Marcus wrote daily letters from prison. Sarah had them forwarded to the FBI as evidence of restraining order violations. Each letter added 6 months to supervisory requirements. Year 3 brought the cruelest justice. The stress-induced dementia Marcus had faked became real. Brain scans showed rapid deterioration. He forgot the frauds first, then the affairs, then the theft. But never Sarah's name. He'd call it out at night, guards reported. Not angry, not pleading, just lost. Sarah? Where's Sarah? She never answered. The document. Everything nonprofit expanded to 7 cities. The website became a resource quoted in court cases nationwide. Sarah testified before Congress about financial abuse legislation. The last time Sarah saw Marcus was on the news shuffling in chains to a medical facility. 63 years old, but looking 80. The reporter noted he'd been a pharmaceutical executive who'd stolen from his wife's retirement. Sarah turned off the television. Emma was coming for dinner. Maria bringing dessert. Life had moved forward. The Honda needed an oil change. Some things never change. Others transform completely. The wedding photo stayed in a drawer, not destroyed, not displayed. Evidence, documentation, proof that even smart women can love dangerous men and survive them. 5 years after the trial, Sarah stood before an audience of 2,000 at the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence Conference. Behind her, a simple slide, Financial abuse kills dreams before bodies. When people ask how I didn't know, she began, I tell them I did know. I knew something was wrong when my prescriptions went unfilled, when the retirement statements stopped coming, when my husband's golf clubs cost more than our daughter's semester books. The audience leaned forward, but knowing and proving are different wars. Documentation is your ammunition. Silence is theirs. Her nonprofit had helped recover $47 million for financial abuse victims. The average woman took 7 years to rebuild after financial destruction. Sarah had condensed recovery into a 3-year program, combining forensic accounting, legal support, and therapeutic services. Emma published her book at 26. Theft in Plain Sight spent 14 weeks on bestseller lists. She donated half the proceeds to her mother's nonprofit. The other half funded investigative journalism fellowships for young women. Maria had been cancer-free for 6 years. She ran the Southwest region of Document Everything, helping 300 women annually escape financial imprisonment. Her daughter, Sophia, became a lawyer specializing in financial crimes. Marcus died in federal medical prison, year 7 of his sentence. The dementia had progressed rapidly. His last coherent words, according to the chaplain, "Tell Sarah I remember the Honda." Sarah didn't attend the funeral. Neither did Emma. Richard's estate paid for burial, a final obligation to a son he'd disowned but couldn't completely abandon.
Consars.
Q-Tech became a case study at Harvard Business School. Corporate governance, failure, and redemption. The company now required spousal notification for all retirement withdrawals over $1,000. They called it the Davidson Protocol, though Sarah never wanted her name on it. The escort service investigation revealed a network spanning 12 states. 43 executives were indicted. The FBI created a financial crimes task force specifically for intimate partner fraud. Sarah consulted pro bono. At tonight's conference, Sarah concluded with statistics that made the room gasp. 99% of domestic violence involves financial abuse. The average victim loses $103,000 over their lifetime. Most never recover fully. She clicked to her final slide, a photo of the Honda, now with 300,000 miles. This car outlasted my marriage, my husband's freedom, and his mind. It needs repairs constantly, but keeps running. Like survivors do. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, a young woman approached. Familiar bruises hidden under concealer. Designer bag, but nervous hands. My husband controls everything. The accounts, the passwords, even my prescriptions. How did you start? Sarah handed her a business card. On the back, 3 words. Document everything secretly. Call tomorrow. We'll help. Free. Confidential. Safe. These real-life stories save lives daily. Not just touching stories or distant black stories, but life stories that teach survival. Have you checked your accounts today? Your credit report? Your medication refills? Document everything. Trust patterns, not promises. Your financial freedom is your lifeline. Share this story. Someone needs it. Comment your experience. You're not alone. Subscribe for more survival guides disguised as stories. The Honda's still running. So are we.